Alright, so you have your standard jack, you have your lock nut remover, you have a 17 millimeter to remove the brakes, you have a 7/8 to remove the other wheel nuts. This is just a standard washer to put the Phillips head, and your standard breaker bar with an adapter on the end. So the first thing you need to do is remove the cap to your wheel, break all of the nuts loose, make sure your e-brake is on, make sure your jack is in the right position, jack up your car so your wheel is just off the ground, remove all the nuts, put your tire under the engine in case your car falls off the jack. Alright, so the first thing you need to do is remove your brake. You have two bolts, which is the 17 millimeter right there, one on top and one on bottom right there. You remove both of those and the whole wheel or the whole brake system will come off. This is your standard 17 millimeter with a breaker bar. So you should be able to access these from the outside. I'm just going to speed it up here a little bit. Alright, so now I got the top one off. Now I'm going to get the bottom one. Alright, so those are your two bolts and lock nuts. So now the brake is free to come off. You just have to kind of tug it off. Now remember, you have your brake line, so be easy with it. You don't want to damage that. So the easy thing to do is to leave the brake line attached and just sit it on top of the hub, just like that. So to remove the rotor, you have two Phillips head screws. Very, very simple. So once you remove those screws, the rotor should just come right off of the hub, like so. So I'm just going to show you a side-by-side of what it looks like with the new one. So you'll notice in mine it's ribbed. The brakes had damaged it over time, so I'm just putting a new one on so I have a fresh start. So you're going to line up those new the holes for the Phillips head to the original holes. Just going to slide it right onto the hub. Make sure the holes for the Phillips line right up. Make sure to watch out for your brake so you don't damage it. Now sometimes your new rotor will be a little bit thicker, so you need to make sure that your brake pads will fit over it. If it doesn't, then you're probably going to have to clamp the master cylinder so that the brake pads open up a little more. So you just put the Phillips head screws back in, slide the brake system right back over, insert the two lock nut and bolts, torque them down to spec, get the top one on, make sure you get the bottom one on there. Put your wheel back on, make sure you torque everything down just a little bit, including the lock nut. I basically just hand tighten them, a little bit past hand tightening. And then I remove the jack. Car falls down, everything looks good. Then you torque it down to spec. Put the cap back on, make sure all tools are out of the way. Now what you want to do is you want to get back in your car, put on the brake, ignition, then you want to pump the brake. Pump it, pump it, pump it so that the brake fluid goes back into the brakes and grabs onto that rotor the way it's supposed to. Then just take it for a quick test drive around the neighborhood or down the street. Make sure everything looks good.